Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello and welcome to the first 2026 MLB Draft special episode of On the Verge. Nick Stevens here to bring back these in-season draft episodes on a special day. The day this episode is dropping, Friday, February 13th, is opening day of the D1 college baseball season. Other levels of college baseball have already started or will be starting soon as well. D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA guys. And as much as I would love to dive into those levels a bit more, I'm already stretched incredibly thin when it comes to my baseball watching time, especially once the minor league season gets going. But the D1 starts on Friday, so that is what we are going to dive into all season long over here. If you are checking this out for the first time, I've been incredibly proud of the draft coverage we've provided over the last few years, and I do it all through an Orioles draft lens. And in doing so, if you followed along in previous years, you've been aware of many Orioles draft picks well ahead of time. The mock drafts continue to get more and more accurate, and this year, once again, the draft coverage will continue to go deeper and deeper. A couple of plugs real quick before I dive into the topic of this episode. If you check out our Substack, go sub, free and paid options available. To the many paid subs, I can't thank you enough, but there's a ton of free content as well, including all of the 2026 draft coverage housed under now an MLB Draft tab at the top of the app there. I've also got a handful of individual player profiles that I put up over the offseason, some of my favorite players and players who I think are super intriguing and could move up boards as the season progresses. It is oriolesontheverge.substack.com, or use the link in the show notes of this episode to take you directly there. And since we're talking about the draft right now, and the Orioles have the 7th overall pick, if you go sign up now for a paid subscription to our Substack, I'll knock $7 off the yearly price, so just $23 for a full year of Orioles, minor, major, and draft coverage. I also have my master draft document, around 850 right now, draft eligible D1 college players broken down. I have a tab for each conference. It's broken down by team, all of my preseason research, stats, data, some scouting notes, and more. I'm in that document every single day, keeping it updated with relevant information, links to articles. I'll be adding all of my live look notes on players throughout the year there. You can access that on our Discord and the patron-only channels. If you sign up for our Patreon at any level, you get plenty of perks, including access to the patron-only channels on our Discord. There is an MLB Draft channel, and the document is there. It's a pinned message, so you can just hit the thumbtack in that channel and access the document there instead of going back and trying to find it. It's patreon.com/ontheverge to sign up for our Patreon. The direct link to that will also be in our show notes. And if you are a patron, you want to sign up there, we'll also make sure you get access to the Substack and don't have any paywalls on those articles. I know I can speak for Bob and Zach as well when I say we cannot thank you all enough for the support, even if you're just downloading the shows, giving us a listen, or liking our YouTube videos. If you watch us there, all forms of support do not go unnoticed. But let's talk about the meat of this episode. This is dropping on Friday morning of opening day of the D1 college baseball season. There's also an article going up on our Substack of specific games and players that I'm going to be watching this weekend if you want to follow along. This podcast episode, though, will focus just on the Orioles' first round pick, where they will have the 7th overall pick. So I'm going to highlight 7 of my favorite potential targets to note. Again, this is being recorded the second week of February. It is very early. We haven't even had the first pitch of the season yet. A lot is going to change. But I'm going to start with my 5 favorite college hitters. I'll talk about one pitcher, and then I'll talk about one hitter who is a little bit further down public draft rankings at the moment, but someone who I could see being a riser as the 2026 season unfolds. Baseball America also just released their look at how MLB scouting departments grade the 2026 MLB Draft to back up my opinion that this draft class is incredibly fun. On overall talent, they graded this draft a 60 on the 2080 scale. In the 6 years that Baseball America has done this exercise, it's the highest graded class, and none of the teams who completed the survey graded it as below average or less. It's the highest graded group of college hitters in the last 6 years per this survey, and it's, quote, a historically great high school pitching class. College pitching gets a 50 grade, so around average. So the industry is very bullish on this class as a whole, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Orioles follow a similar path to last year, get as much of the top-end college hitting talent at the top of the draft, and then load up on a lot of overlooked JUCO, non-D1 arms. It's important to note about all the non-D1 picks, especially the Orioles made last year. With changes at the D1 level, including new roster size rules, some pretty good talent is trickling down to other levels. That, combined with the access to pitching labs and performance centers, the The D1 college pitching class may not look particularly strong right now in February, but that could change as guys rise or pop at random times throughout the year, and teams are going to find their pitching elsewhere if they don't find it in the college ranks, the D1 college ranks, because there's plenty of it. That's not so much the case with hitting prospects the further you get into the draft, which is why you typically see the Orioles use the draft strategy that they have over the last few years. But we're going to take a quick break right now, check out these awesome commercials, and after my 7 favorite targets for the Baltimore Orioles in the first round of the 2026 MLB Draft as of February 13th.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
All right, so this isn't a ranking, just 7 names to start the following along process. I don't have access to Synergy. If someone wants to help out with that, let's talk, please. Let's talk. But college baseball is a sport I have an immense amount of love for. I'm constantly watching. I read every article I get my hands on. I love researching and learning as much as I can about as many players as I can. And there are many unbelievable voices in this space, and it's growing at a huge rate. But I hope I can be a helpful voice in this space for Orioles fans who may be interested in the draft in college baseball. So I'm going to start my pandering to the Maryland audience. I know the vast majority of people who listen to this reside in Maryland. So let's look at my first prospect here is former University of Maryland standout, but now Texas A&M shortstop Chris Hacopian. He is a 6'1", 210-pound right-handed hitting shortstop. Hacopian had a stellar 2-year career at Maryland. He hit .347, had a 1080 OPS, 22 doubles, 29 home runs, a 149 WRC plus across 107 games, and he had a 13.6% walk rate with a very strong 8.7% strikeout rate. If you look at the Big Ten WRC plus leaderboard for 2025, it was Indiana's Devin Taylor who ended up being a second-round draft pick of the A's last year, and then a tie for second between Hacopian and UCLA's Rock Chalowski, the presumed 1-1 in this year's draft class. One of the questions surrounding Hacopian in 2026 is the defense. If he can step up, be a strong defender at shortstop in the SEC, it will certainly help raise his draft stock. Some believe he ultimately ends up at third base. When you watch him play the position, you can see the internal clock and fundamentals all in motion. I like his chances to stick, at least initially, but it will be something to pay close attention to this year. He did play a lot of third base when he went out to the Cape Cod League this past summer, but he will get the opportunity to be the everyday shortstop for Texas A&M this year. He's the 9th-ranked college prospect on Baseball America's board right now, 5th-ranked prospect on Joe Doyle's list at Overslot.com, and he's 4th on Tyler Jennings' list found at Just Baseball. And a big reason why he's so highly ranked is the bat. And to quote Tyler from his top 100 ranking on Hacopian, he says, quote, "There's no mincing words here. Hacopian is about as complete a hitter as you will find on the amateur landscape." And if you pull up a StatCast card, it's beautiful. 78th percentile in-zone whiff rate, running an in-zone contact rate near 80% or 90%. His contact rate against fastballs, 95%. He doesn't miss fastballs. He ranks in the 87th percentile in chase rate, showing his strike zone awareness, good swing decisions. When he does go after pitches out of the zone, it's a 91st percentile whiff rate. He has 60 grades on the hit tool, which really stands out. And the power is almost nearly as impressive. There's a 55 grade on it by some outlets. He has a 108 mile per hour 90th percentile exit velo. That ranks in the 96th percentile in college baseball last year, 95th percentile in barrel rate. If there's a knock on the batted ball profile that stands out, it is his career almost 42% ground ball rate and the pull air rate that ranks in just the 46th percentile. He's still young. He will be still just 21 on draft day. The full profile is an exciting one with a very advanced hit tool, so I'm not too concerned at all about the ground ball rate at this point. He did OPS under 700 on the Cape Cod League this past summer, but he walked 14 times and he struck out just 6 times. And D1Baseball.com ranked him as the top draft prospect on the Cape after the season, citing a lot of bad luck on batted balls and shifting to a more contact-oriented approach at times, but the under-the-hood batted ball data still shined. He also did not get to participate in fall camp and scrimmages because of a hand fracture, but he didn't need surgery. They let it heal on its own. There seems to be no concern heading into the season, though. He's been playing in preseason scrimmages, showing off the impressive bat. Lots of videos of him shooting doubles the other way, driving hard hit balls deep into the center field gaps. He looks ready, and said himself he's more than 100% ready. So some super juice flowing through the veins there. Texas A&M starts the season against Tennessee Tech and then Penn to get the ball rolling. So not the toughest competition, but then they will play at the home of the Houston Astros in a weekend tournament in about 3 weeks against Virginia Tech, Arizona State, and UCLA on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So 3 very fun, tough matchups against some impressive pitching, and that battle on Sunday against Rock Chalowski to close out the tournament. Many, many eyes, including mine, will be on every game that weekend. That is Chris Hakopian, Texas A&M shortstop. For number 2, let's go from the hometown Maryland kid to a LeBron. Alabama shortstop Justin LeBron. He is a 6'2", 175-pound right-handed hitting shortstop. LeBron has put up back-to-back strong seasons at Alabama thus far. He hit .316 with an OPS of 1058 last year, 18 doubles, 18 home runs, and a 139 WRC+. He was also 17 for 18 in stolen base attempts, raised his walk rate from 8% to 12.5%, and then saw a strikeout rate go from 21% to 24%. So a little bit of a red flag there. Also, the 18 total home runs were impressive, but the vast majority of those came early in the year. He hit just 3 home runs during SEC play. He was being touted as a potential Golden Spikes winner, which ultimately went to Orioles draft pick Vahiva Aloy, and even a potential 1-1 pick in 2026 after his fantastic start to last season. But the entire hitting operation kind of faltered a little bit once SEC play got underway, and not just the power numbers. Pulling these batted ball numbers from a recent Joe Doyle article where he makes a case for LeBron to still be the 1-1 this year ahead of Rock Chalowski. LeBron hit .278 in SEC play with a 33% whiff rate and troubling in-zone whiff and chase numbers. There was a 46% whiff rate on sliders from righties and real struggles against hitting fastballs against lefties, 2 areas that Joe notes LeBron didn't struggle that much against as a freshman. So real questions about the hit tool, which gets a 45 grade on by some outlets. That's the clear area that he can improve on to help raise his draft stock. But LeBron may very well be the best defender at shortstop in this draft. He has 70 grade fielding tools with 60 grade arm. He's a 2-time All-SEC defensive team member at the position. And I'm sure there's nits to pick about the defense, but there's no question he is a premier defender at a premier position, and he's not going to move off that position. The power also saw an uptick overall, and there's room for even more growth. His max EV as a freshman was 106 miles per hour. That went up to over 110 miles per hour last season. He posted 86th percentile 90 EV, a 95th percentile barrel rate, and 89th percentile pull air rate. It's hard to find another bat in this class with the power and speed combo, and when you add in the top-notch shortstop defense into the equation, it's why even with the hit tool concerns, LeBron ranks so highly. He is 7th on Just Baseball's list, 4th on Baseball America's list, and 4th on Joe Doyle's list. Again, those are college-only ranked players right now. The 14th percentile in-zone whiff and growing K rate are tough to see for someone you want to target with the 7th overall pick, but those are the 2 biggest things I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to as the season unfolds. Number 3 hitter, let's go to the national champs down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the Fighting Ben McDonald's, also known as the LSU Tigers, and let's talk about outfielder Derek Curiel. He was a highly touted high school prospect. Curiel was fantastic as a freshman last season. He's listed at 6'2", over 190 pounds. He's a left-handed hitter, and he hit .345 with a .470 on base percentage, 20 doubles, 2 triples, 7 home runs, had a 17% strikeout rate with a 16% walk rate. He ranks 6th on Baseball America's College Board, 15th on Joe Doyle's, and also 15th on Just Baseball's list. One reason why he's a bit lower on some lists is because he is a more contact-oriented approach, but it is fantastic contact ability. Curiel ranked in the 99th percentile in in-zone whiff, 94th percentile in overall whiff rate, 86th percentile in chase rate. He is cool, calm, and collected in the batter's box, and while the bat speed and power signs don't really stand out, he's not what some would call a noodle bat. He's 90th percentile EV is slightly above average, and his average EV is in the 84th percentile, so it's good, consistent contact that he sends to all fields. His max EV last year was just 106 miles per hour, but he has reportedly exceeded 110 miles per hour this fall and in preseason multiple times, so perhaps there's some more power starting to shine through, which will help his profile. But it doesn't seem like he projects to ever be too much of a power hitter, maybe in the 10 to 15 home run range at his peak. It seems like it's always going to be hit over power, but it is very, very good hit. The other thing that will help raise his profile this season is the defense. He played left field last year, but he's moving over to center field for 2026. He's an average runner, just 3 stolen bases in 6 attempts as a freshman, but his athleticism and solid arm should profile well in center field, and that's going to be something to pay attention to this year. How does he adjust to center field full time? He will turn 21 just before the draft. He's a draft eligible sophomore, so his age and incredibly strong hit tool and higher floor will likely have him grade very well in models. And as an Orioles fan, if you're thinking Curiel is in this Enrique Bradfield Jr. mold, it's a different profile. It's in the same kind of vibe in that it's a bit of a different profile from the type of first-round hitters the Orioles typically target, but Curiel doesn't have the speed or defense that Bradfield does. Few in the game do. He can impact the baseball more with very real plus hit tool. And a note here I missed, breaking down his 99th percentile end zone whiff a little bit more, against fastballs in the zone, 97th percentile contact rate. He played every single game last year, hit leadoff every day for a national championship team as a freshman, and broke the freshman record for consecutive on-base streak. He reached base in 43 straight games last year. The record for an LSU freshman was 33, so 10 games. It was also the 5th longest streak in LSU history. And recent quotes from Curiel also note his dedication this offseason to improving his speed and strength. The EVs point to the possible strength gains being real and sticky. We'll see about the speed, but Curiel did say he wants to make pitchers throw more pitches, steal bases, and score runs. And so a bit more power and success on the bases, along with holding down center in Baton Rouge, could have teams move him up their boards a bit in this year's draft class. Moving on to number 4 now, one of my absolute favorite hitters in this class is UVA outfielder AJ Gracia. He is a 6'3", 195-pound left-handed hitting outfielder who followed his head coach at Duke to UVA this offseason. And while he battled some minor bumps and bruises in the fall, he's been showcasing the hit and power in preseason practices and games, and he's going to look to build on an up-and-down sophomore year at Duke. Gracia begins this year ranked as the 12th ranked prospect on Baseball America's list and 2nd on both Joe Doyle's and Just Baseball's. The 12th ranking on Baseball America is a little too low, but I digress. Gracia made an impact with the bat from the moment he stepped on campus at Duke. He broke the school freshman record with 14 home runs and 58 RBI. His 48 walks, which was a 17% rate, was the 5th most walks in a single season in Duke history, not just for a freshman. He then showed out well in the Cape Cod League, went on to join Team USA before his sophomore year that started very slowly but picked up by the end. Last year, through the first 5 or so weeks of the year, he was hitting just 165. But then he had a breakout weekend against NC State, and for the rest of the year, he hit 293 with a 449 on base percentage, 15 home runs, a 20% walk rate, a 126 WRC plus, and a 12.6% strikeout rate, which was down from his 20% strikeout rate through the first 5 weeks or so of the year. Multiple reports at the time discussed how Gracia lowered his hands, closed off his front side, and made some minor adjustments at the plate that led to the breakout, which he sustained for the rest of the year, so a very positive sign. Scouting grades on Gracia give him a 60 hit, 60 power, 50 run, 50 field, and a 45 arm. He's a corner outfielder defensively, and it's the bat that's going to carry the profile here. He did see a drop in some of the power metrics. His max EV dropped 2 miles per hour last year, and his barrel rate dropped a bit, but he's been showing strong EVs in the fall when he was healthy and into the spring, and there is widespread belief that the above average power is going to return in 2026. Gracia ran a 93rd percentile chase rate with a 90th percentile overall whiff rate last year, still had an 83rd percentile 90 EV and 91st percentile barrel rate despite the slight backtrack last year in the power department. He puts the ball in play. When he does damage and is highly productive. One knock on the bat could be that he's a little bit passive. I think evaluators do want to see him ambush more pitches early in the count, but the swing is one of the more beautiful swings you will see in college baseball this year. It is a left-handed swing built to do damage. He should be a prolific home run hitter if his development takes off in pro ball, and he should also be a high on-base guy who you don't worry too much about elevated strikeout rates. Should be slightly better than average in that department for his profile. I'm all in on the AJ Gracia hype train. And if I were to rank these guys in the second week of February without having seen a single pitch in 2026, I'd have Gracia number 1 as my favorite target for the Orioles if he were to make it to pick number 7. And with UVA just 35 minutes down the road for me, I can't wait to see it. Go out and see him live. He will have matchups against Brett Renfroe here in Charlottesville, one of my favorite arms in this year's class. Wake Forest comes to town a week after. Perhaps a matchup against Blake Morningstar. And Aiden Canuck at Clemson, another one of the top arms in this class. He'll be in Charlottesville. So if you are around the Charlottesville area this year, plenty of opportunities to watch AJ Gracia match up against some of the top arms in this year's class. Let's go to number 5 now on my list. And one of my favorite programs in college baseball, TCU, Texas Christian University. If you're looking to get into college baseball and want a team to watch, TCU is a great choice. And there's also a lot of Oriole connections here. Former Orioles draft pick Noah Franco, he hits majestic moonshots right now. There's also the younger brother of Carter Baumler, former Orioles prospect, now Texas Rangers pitcher. But Trevor Baumler is the younger brother of Carter Baumler. He's a very fun arm to watch pitch. Both are just sophomores, so they are 2027 draft prospects. Outfielder Chase Brunson is someone I will be watching very closely for 2026. I think that is a bat that goes very overlooked in this lineup of bigger names. But the bat I want to highlight here is outfielder Sawyer Stroh-Snyder, a draft-eligible sophomore who put up an electric freshman year last year. He's listed at 6'2", 180, left-handed hitting outfielder. He showed off impressive power and a hit tool that surpassed a lot of expectations in his first year of college ball. He played mostly in right field, but has the tools to potentially man center field. He was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year, and he's going to enter 2026 ranked 13th on Baseball America's board, 14th on Joe's, and 11th on Just Baseball's. His freshman stat line was phenomenal. He hit .350, had a .420 on base percentage, 13 doubles, 10 triples, 11 home runs, 10 stolen bases. His max EV eclipsed 112 miles per hour. His hard hit rate exceeded 50%. And I should note, exit velos are becoming insane in college baseball, like dangerously insane. But being among the nation's leaders obviously shows how good the raw power is. His 90th percentile EV ranked in the 97th percentile last season. The hit tool showed some holes last year, but he was a freshman, and there are plenty of signs that point to improvements with more experience. He did have a 31% chase rate, so the swing decisions will need to be tightened up a little bit, but he had an end-zone whiff rate that ranked in the 58th percentile. His offensive ceiling, if he can improve those swing decisions and limit the chase this year, is astronomical. Very few, if any, players in this class can match his full set of tools. He's already added a significant amount of strength and reportedly more than 20 pounds since joining TCU's roster. He has all the potential to move up into the very early part of the first round if he can show improvements in year 2 and build on that strong foundation he set as a freshman. All right, now let's talk pitching. We can have the full conversation about drafting first-round pitchers closer to the draft. But let's look at my favorite arm. And if you look at preseason rankings, you're likely going to see Florida's Liam Peterson and Coastal Carolina's Cameron Fluke as the top 2 college arms in the class. Wouldn't it be just such a fantastic Orioles story if the Orioles do go with a pitcher with the 7th overall pick and his last name is Fluke? But there is nothing fluky about that man's game. But I'm not going to talk about either of these two guys right now, maybe later in the year. I want to talk about my personal favorite arm at the top of this board, and it is UC Santa Barbara right-handed pitcher Jackson Flora. The Angels surprised a lot of people last year by taking Flora's teammate Tyler Bremner at number 2 overall. Flora could join his former teammate in the early part of the first round here in 2026. giving UC Santa Barbara back-to-back years of high-profile arms going early on in the draft. West Coast pitching is very fun, extremely fun, and very overlooked for us East Coasters over here. But more on Flora here. He is listed at 6'5", 200 pounds, mainly pitched out of the bullpen as a freshman, but moved into the rotation last year. He threw 75 innings, had a 3.6 ERA that came with a 2.63 Sierra, a 209 average against, 604 OPS against. He had a 28% strikeout rate and just a 5.5% walk rate. It was a whip of 1 and a ground ball rate north of 40%. The fastball, electric. It sits 95, 96. He can regularly hit triple digits with it, around 18 plus inches of induced vertical break. It was a very effective offering last year. He threw it 64% of the time and still produced a 27% whiff rate, and opponents hit just 222 against his fastball. He has feel for multiple breaking balls, a firmer slider, a sweepier slider, and a curveball. All have plus spin rates. Opponents hit 163 against his slider last year, and since last season, he's added a kick change to help attack lefties. He's reportedly cleaned up the fastball shape in hopes of making it even more effective weapon when it was already one of the top fastballs in the 2026 class. If Jackson Flora can show better repeatability with his delivery, show he can incorporate a third offering, preferably this new kick change, those two things should go a long way in cementing his status as one of, if not the top college arm in this year's class. And if you're looking for some fun late-night baseball while you wait for MLB season to begin, fire up ESPN Plus and check out Jackson Flora and this entire UC Santa Barbara team on Friday nights. If you go over on our Substack, my article that's going on Friday as well, one of the series that I'm highlighting is UC Santa Barbara traveling to Southern Miss. Southern Miss is a perennial top 25 program, one of the top programs in the Sun Belt Conference. That series is going to be a phenomenal watch this weekend. But let's go one more for this episode. I'm going to stick to the West Coast to look at a bat who, up to this point, you don't see his name in the Orioles range at pick 7 in those very, very early mock drafts. He's ranked 16th on both Joe and Tyler's college ranking list, and he's ranked 22nd on Baseball America's list. It is Oregon shortstop Maddox Maloney. He's listed at 6'2", just over 200 pounds. He's a right-handed hitting shortstop. Last year for the Ducks, he hit .309, had 8 doubles, 15 home runs. It was a 125 WRC plus after a 131 WRC plus as a freshman. He dropped his strikeout rate from 17% to 14%, and he raised his walk rate from 8% to 10%. And he did a solid job of getting the ball off the ground more, lowering his ground ball rate from 38% to 31%. He's another plus defender at shortstop. He profiles a stick there and is a ton of fun to watch the position. His first step and quickness have been compared to Merritt Houston, one of the top defenders at the position in last year's draft class from Wake Forest. And Maloney has a strong hit tool, 84th percentile in-zone whiff rate, very strong contact rates against fastballs. He doesn't chase a ton, 50th percentile, but he has struggled to adjust to pitches out of the zone. There is significant whiff out of the zone. But if he can show the ability to adjust there, that will, of course, boost his profile. He doesn't have the light tower power. The max EV has been 108 miles per hour up to this point. It's 57th percentile and 90 EV, but he is one of the better hitters in the country in terms of pull air rate. So adding even just a bit more strength will solidify the at least average power in his profile, but it is fair to question just how much power he's going to get it to pro ball. And the hit tool holes aren't as extreme as Justin LeBron's, but there are still some questions there. He is a high floor option that likely goes in probably more so in the back half of the first round if you're projecting right now. But his potential, if he can tap into more this season, there's a world where he is a top 10 pick. So he is my February way too early sleeper for pick number 7 overall for the Orioles this summer. That is my early watch list. A couple of other very good names I didn't even touch on here that would be great options. Kentucky's Tyler Bell, shortstop, draft-eligible sophomore. Georgia Tech's Drew Burris, maybe he is undersized, but he's done nothing but be one of the most productive hitters in college baseball since his freshman year. Of course, I'm not going to mention Rock Chalowski since things have to go pretty wrong for him to drop to 7th, which would warrant an entirely different conversation closer to draft day. But that's the list. Texas A&M shortstop Chris Jacobian, Alabama shortstop Justin LeBron, UVA outfielder AJ Gracia, TCU outfielder Sawyer Stroh-Snyder, LSU outfielder Derek Curiel, my pitcher, UC Santa Barbara right-handed pitcher Jackson Flora, and an early sleeper, a potential riser, Oregon shortstop Maddox Maloney. Go sub to our Substack, check out my opening weekend article to see specifically who I'll be watching this weekend. Also follow at OTV_draft notes. On the Verge Draft Notes, Twitter, X account, daily highlights and info all season long over there. Check out the full draft doc in the MLB Draft channel of our Patreon-only Discord. If you're checking out a game, you're like, hey, I'm going to watch some baseball right now. I don't know who should I be paying attention to here. Tab for each conference, prospects broken down by team, quick and dirty notes on some guys. So if you're watching a random game that you pull up, you can decide exactly which players I think are worth paying attention to there as far as the 2026 draft is concerned. I hope you enjoyed this first draft look. I'm excited to do a few more of these during the year as games get underway and I'm able to get more eyes on players. Thank you for listening, and until next time, go O's.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.